Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're back in War Thunder and we're looking at the Daimler AC Mark II. This is an armoured car which was added to the British tree in update 1.71 at rank 1 at battle rating 1.3. Now this may not seem like a big thing to a lot of you, like probably a lot of you are thinking about the rank 6 vehicles, maybe the BE6 or the P51H, but for me, what I was looking forward to the most in this update was the Daimler. Just because I know a lot about it historically, I know its historical significance, and also because now we have the chassis in game, that opens us up to many different variants that the Daimler had, including one which housed a nice little 75 on it. So the Mark II that we have in game, sat at BR 1.3, does house the 40mm, which is very common in Tier 1 for the British. You see it on the A13, the Tetrarch, and now the Daimler, and many others, including the Valentine, and even the Crusader Mark II. It's the staple, it's the staple gun for the British in rank 1, so you're probably very used to it. What is nice about the Daimler is that it actually has a very nice reload on it. Right now, with my cruise skill where it is, which tank loading, weapon reloading is at 3 right now, we have a 3.3 second reload time, or 3.6 base, and top is 2.8 if you expert the crew. So you have quite a fast firing 40mm, I should say, 2-pounder, which has 2 shells, which are very common across everything else. You have a shell which basically pens a little bit more, and you have a shell which is slightly heavier, but pens a little bit less. Both of them have exactly the same muzzle velocity. It's basically, if you want a bit more of a heavy shell, maybe you want to do slightly more damage, then you take the upgraded shell. But if you want the extra penetration, then you take the stock shell. Now for me personally, with the 40mm gun, I think it is right to take the stock shell. The fact that the Daimler is at 2.3 means that you can get up-tiered into 2.3 battles, and 80mm of penetration is definitely required, and because the muzzle velocity doesn't change, it means that this gun can be extremely accurate over longer ranges, so that extra penetration can help you out quite a lot. Now, even though the first shell does slowly drop off at ranges of up to 1,000 meters, the majority of battles in War Thunder, especially in rank 1, happen between that 100 to 500 range, which is why I value the penetration of the first shell. If you're going to be sniping with this tank, maybe staying at the back, using it as a support vehicle, I would recommend using the upgraded shell. But if you're going to be a bit more of a brawler, a bit more trying to attack people head on, then you use the default shell. So basically, what do we have out of the Daimler? Well, we don't have a lot of armor. We have a pretty decent gun which fires quite quickly. You may struggle with the damage of the gun, but you know, it's still a rapid firing. You can hit the gunner 5 times just like you do with every other British vehicle. You have a 3-man crew. Basically, you have a Tetrarch with wheels. The main difference is the Tetrarch is incredibly quick going forward when we look at acceleration. 0 to 20 in the Tetrarch is incredibly good. The Daimler, though, it does lose out in acceleration going forward, but what it gains is a massive acceleration in reverse. This means that you are able to get out of situations that you get in. You also have the 4-wheel setup. It's not 4-wheel drive, it is 2-wheel drive right now, but it does mean that you can get around corners very easily compared to the Tetrarch. So I would actually say in the Daimler you have a bit more maneuverability than the Tetrarch. Of course the Tetrarch can go fast, but when it comes to actually being as precise as you can, the Daimler improves in that regard. You have basically the same gun. If we look at the rotation speed, the Daimler is so much better. One of the biggest things that holds back the Tetrarch is the fact that it only has 5.8 degrees per second to rotation. The Daimler has 13.5. So it's over double that, so therefore a lot better. It also has access to the 7.92mm, and it has access to smoke shells, which is always nice. So overall what you're getting is something which is very similar to the Tetrarch, but has slightly different advantages. Both of the machine's armor is pretty much useless, but you get a bit more maneuverability with the Daimler. You get an actual reverse gear, which is very, very good, and also you lose out on the speed going forward. So it's basically, what do you prefer in a tank? Do you prefer getting to the battle fast, trying to get into a decent position where you can fight from, or do you want a vehicle which is a bit more versatile as the battle goes on? And that's basically how I see the Daimler compared to the Tetrarch, which is the vehicle I've seen it compared to quite a lot. One of the issues with the Daimler, if we look at matchups, is obviously AA guns. The Gepard absolutely destroys it. The, what is it called? The Type 94 absolutely destroys it, but this is not an uncommon thing. Unfortunately, in Rank 1, if you look at a lot of the dominant vehicles, the Panzer II, the Gepard, the Type... sorry, I've just forgotten it. The Type 94, the AC Mark.II, which is actually Tier 2 now, which is nice to see. But basically what we see is high velocity, rapid firing 20mm, or 15mm, or even 50 cal, stuff like that. So the Flak Panzer, the Gepard, the Panzer II, these are machines which can easily take over matches, because it does end up with who sees who first and how many shots you can get in. Because the Daimler is quite small, what happens is if you actually penetrate the thing, you are going to take out the turret where two people sit, and therefore in a realistic battle you're out of it. I've actually had quite a lot of people shoot me, and I haven't died, surprisingly enough, because they've either just missed or they've only hit the transmission shooting too low. Something that is interesting is the camera angle on the Daimler. If you actually... the camera angle seems further away than it would on something like a Tetrarch, giving it a feel that it is a lot smaller than it is. So that is just something you've got to watch out for in game. It feels kind of interesting that they've done this, maybe just to give it a slight advantage, or maybe because it is slightly taller, even though it really isn't. The Tetrarch they're probably comparable sizes, maybe slightly taller because of the wheels. What I do like about the Daimler though, just from an aesthetics point of view, you can actually go bouncing around. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you go forward, then you brake, then you reverse, and then just do that, you can actually rock the boat a little bit. You can rock the Daimler forward and back. And what is so cool to watch, I can't wait until we can get some of these together and maybe race in them and stuff. Once it goes around the corner, the whole thing shifts, because obviously the suspension's based on springs, so when you go around the corner, the whole hull of the machine actually shifts to the side, and it just looks awesome to see. And if you can do that in unison with a bunch of people, it looks absolutely awesome. Obviously from a gameplay point of view, it doesn't really matter, but it's a nice little aesthetic thing, which is nice to see. So you get two smoke shells, which can be useful in the heat of a moment. Generally, if you get shot in the Daimler, you are going to die, so therefore you have to use the smoke proactively, just like you do on vehicles like the Tetrarch. Maybe to corner a part off so you can go around. As I said, this machine is quite maneuverable, so therefore going around is definitely an option, and hopefully you don't run into a Gepard. But overall, at 1.3, I've had some fun with it, and I definitely will play it a lot more. And the only real issue is the same issue that every other Rank 1 vehicle has. AA exists, and, well, it's really good at killing Rank 1 tanks, because nothing has any armor. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.